You get you get messy, Riley, in these podcasts.
Ladies, gentlemen, and those with the good sense to do away with the whole notion, I welcome you to the premier audio medium for all your Fazbear entertainment needs, the Freddy Fazbear Pizza Podcast. Note, FFPP is not responsible for any loss of appetite, disinterest, dismemberment, or other legally classified statuses. So strap in and enjoy.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Freddy Fazbear Pizza Podcast. I'm your host with the toast, Rytos, here to talk about Five Nights at Freddy's, as we always do. Surely I said the Freddy Fazbear Pizza Podcast. I'm very tired. I'm on like 4 hours of sleep. And it wasn't even my fault. Look, here's the thing. I've got 2 kids, and one of them is 1 year old, you know? And some nights are just rough because kids go through growth spurts. So last night, this will be a quick tangent, then we'll get into it. Last night, I went to bed around midnight, I want to say, you know, because that's a stream ended around like 11:50, 12 o'clock. And I just kind of went straight to bed because I was beat as hell yesterday. So I go to bed, I'm on my phone for like 10 minutes, 50 minutes to like calm down my brain, because once I like streaming, the thing about streaming, if I didn't have like responsibilities and a YouTube channel and like a family, then I think I could stream like 8 to 10 hours a day. Streaming does not drain me. It in fact gives me energy. But the problem with that is when I end stream at like midnight, 1 a.m., now I'm like buzzed. I'm like, all right, I've got energy. Let's go do something. And I have to go to bed. So it's a weird counterbalance. So I usually just like read something or watch something on my phone for like 10, 15. That usually brings down my energy enough to go to bed. So I'm doing that. It's around, then like by 12:30, I'm almost asleep. And the baby wakes up. So I'm like, okay, well, I want Amanda and our toddler to sleep. So I'll take the baby. We've got a spare room with an air conditioner in it. So I'm like, I'll go in the spare room. Put up like a pack and play with a mattress in it, and then I'll sleep on the bed with the baby. And because he usually sleeps better while being held and stuff like that. And like I'll do that and we'll figure it out. I guess he's going through like a growth spurt, because for the next hour, every 10 minutes or so, he wakes up crying. And I'm like, okay, something's uncomfortable. You are in pain. So let's get you some Tylenol. Maybe you got a tooth coming out, you know. A lot of like having a baby, this is the second baby I've ever had. For anyone who doesn't know, having a baby is kind of like troubleshooting, because babies can't tell you or indicate what they want. I mean, they kind of can indicate what they want, because they'll happily go towards what they want. But when there's a problem, it's just kind of, they've got one button, and it's like driving a car where like, if someone is behind you and there's a problem with your car, all they can do is honk their horn. And that could mean, hey, you need to go. Hey, you don't have your turn signal on. Hey, I can't stop. I'm about to hit you. It could mean anything, but all they can do is honk their horn. Likewise, babies, sometimes they've got a tooth coming out and it hurts a lot and it sucks. Sometimes they're sick. Sometimes they're hungry. Sometimes they are thirsty, but all they can do is cry. Like that's all they're capable of. So you kind of just like, if a baby is crying, you kind of just troubleshoot. It's like, okay, do you want me to hold you and walk around? Are you hungry? Are you thirsty? Things like that. So last night when he's crying every 10 minutes or so, sometimes it's, I can't get comfortable, you know, so you wait like a couple times of him waking up to see how it goes. And if he keeps waking up, it's like, all right, maybe you've got a tooth coming, because he is teething a lot. He's got a tooth coming like every other week or so. So there's infant Tylenol, and you can give a little bit of that. So I gave him some of that, and it seemed to help. He kind of settled after like the next 15 to 20 minutes as it started like kicking in. It's like, okay, you have a tooth coming, sure. Half hour goes by, wakes up again. It's like, okay, what's the problem now? And it could still be the tooth, or it could be something else. So it's like, all right, time to wake up again. At this point, it's like 2:30, getting close to 3. And I'm like, are you just having trouble sleeping? You know? So there's a TV in that back room. I put on like, usually I'll have, when we're sleeping, we'll have like soft music playing. Like there's a video I like to listen to a lot that's just like a droning kind of meditative music that's really helpful to sleep to. But I was like, you're not ready to sleep. You're uncomfortable. You're upset. Let's let's cheat a little bit. So I put Mickey Mouse Clubhouse on the TV. I sit myself up on the bed. I sit him up a little bit right here. And we just kind of start watching that. And then he falls asleep right here. I'm like, all right, well, if you're going to fall asleep, I'm going to fall asleep. And that worked for like about an hour. And then he was like upset again. I'm like, okay, I think, and this has happened a few times. I'm like, I think your circadian rhythm is off. You're uncomfortable. You're upset. You're awake. So at like 3:30, we get out of bed and I just turn on the living room lights and we just start the day. Like we pretend like, okay, time for breakfast. Let's play. Let's listen to some music. And I've done this a few times because lo and behold, it worked again. After like an hour of that, he starts getting crabby and now he starts crying again. Because again, a baby upset, all you can do is cry. So this time when he starts crying, I'm like, okay, I know what this is. Because even though we started the day and he's ready, he's happy, he's playing, now he's upset and he doesn't know why. And he's upset because he's tired, right? It's 3 a.m. He's not ready to be awake yet, but he needed to try to play and burn a little energy and eat something and get a change of diaper and go through the motions. And then he realizes I am still upset. And then we go back to bed. So around like 4:30, we go back to bed. Like I turn all that off. He ate something, he drank something, we played a little bit, and we go back to bed. And lo and behold, he passes out. I'm like, okay, we're good to go. So, and then like 8-9 o'clock, he wakes up because that's when he usually wakes up around 7, but he slept in a little bit because and at that point it's like, all right, it's time to start the day. And like Amanda was gracious and she was like, you can, I can take the baby and the toddler and play, and you can go like get a couple hours of sleep. I'm like, well, I'd love to. This past weekend was so busy, I'm behind on everything. And you can tell because this podcast episode is supposed to go up 10 a.m. on Tuesday, and it's probably not going up until the afternoon. So, because I'm recording this 11:30 a.m. on Tuesday, because we just had a packed weekend. It was a good weekend, but it was a very busy weekend. So I'm behind. So as much as I would love to get 2 hours of sleep, I no rest for the wicked. So, if I seem a little, I guess, laid back or out of it, or my eyes, here's for the real ones that watch the podcast, here's the secret. You can tell if I am very tired because this eye will be slightly more closed than this eye. For whatever reason, I think it's because I wore my hair like this for like most of like middle school and high school. But for whatever reason, when I get really tired, my eyes don't open at the same amount. Actually, I think I said the opposite because I'm looking. This eye is a little bit more closed than this eye. You can see it, right? And if I'm like focusing, it's not a huge issue, right? Like if I'm actually like paying attention, I'm awake, I'm blah, 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 it's fine. But the moment I'm like relaxed and tired, you'll notice that that one of the eyes gets more closed than the other one. And I don't know why this happens. But anyway, I think I said quick tangent and we were on that for almost 8 minutes. But you know what? What is a podcast if not a series of skippable rants? So let's talk about Five Nights at Freddy's, shall we? This past week has been a roller coaster on what video I'm putting out this week. Because last week we had the PlayStation State of Play, and then we had the Steel Wool interview that FNAF did. And I was like, okay, so I had a video ready to go Thursday last week. And I was like, okay, I had it done like I had it done Wednesday. And I was like, okay, ready to go. And then Thursday, and I assumed we weren't going to get any FNAF news at the State of Play. And then someone started putting some pieces together that new official like Scott FNAF Twitter account is only following one other account, and that's PlayStation. So it's like, And then that leak came out from, I think it was like a Spanish speaking leaker who's like very reliable, who leaked like the full roster of the State of Play, and somebody translated that and summarized it. And on that translated and summarized list was a new Five Nights at Freddy's game. So I was like, okay, maybe there's something here. So I told my thumbnail artist, Barbara Jordan, I was like, hey, in case a new FNAF game gets announced, can you make me a thumbnail within 24 hours so we could put out a video on Friday about it? And I worked it out with him. And we're like, all right, let's see if we're going to have a miserable night tonight. And then the State of Play happened. And every game that was on that leak list was every game that was a part of the state of play was on that leaker's list. So I was like, oh shit, we're getting a FNAF game. Oh shit. And then we didn't. And there was no FNAF game. And then it came out later that the leaker never said there was a FNAF game. The leaker said there's going to be a game that's about a 10th anniversary of a long-standing franchise. And whoever translated it just jumped the gun and said it was FNAF when there's a different series that has its 10th anniversary that had a game come out on the state of play. So whoever translated that leaker stuff, go fuck yourself. I got me so excited. But we were talking. I was like, I guess it's for the best. We don't have to I don't have to make a video overnight and you don't have to rush out a thumbnail. And then the Steel Wool interview happened the next day. Right. And that was another reason why people John FNAF, he specified, he was like, hey, we did not know the state of play is coming out like the day before the interview. There's no major announcements on this interview. It's not lined up specifically like that for any reason. It just happened to happen that way. Don't get your hopes up, But I watched the interview, and you should too. It's really good. And there were some major lore drops in that interview. The majority of the interview is a really good look into the behind the scenes of game design and Steel Wool as a company and working with Five Nights at Freddy's. It's a really good interview. But there's also 3 or 4 really big lore drops that some of them seem almost accidental. For example, when talking about Cassie and her role in Ruin, Jason Topolski, I believe, but the co-creator and creative director of Steel Wool, he was talking about how Cassie is sort of the healer to Gregory being the destroyer, where Gregory destroys all of the animatronics and Cassie can repair Chica. Cassie fixes Roxy's mind. And then as they're talking about it and joking about it, he goes, oh, well, Freddy's too far gone. So in a way, right, this is not a confirmation. And it should be noted, this is a separate interview. So any of the information from here, take it with a grain of salt. You shouldn't assume it to be fact, but it's worth pointing out. He said that if Freddy is too far gone while talking about what Gregory did to animatronics and how Cassie tries to undo what Gregory did, that implies that the Freddy we see in Ruin is the Freddy we see in Security Breach, prototype stamp or not. Because if Cassie's trying to undo, or not necessarily, but if throughout the game, Cassie is undoing what Gregory has done, if we see a broken Freddy and Cassie attempts to, but realizes that there's no point, he's too far gone, then Freddy is what Gregory has done, meaning that Freddy is our Freddy. Again, prototype stamp or not, which I think is amazing evidence to point to the Princess Quest ending from Security Breach being canon. So it's was that on purpose? I'm not sure. But then there's other things, and the main thing we're going to be talking about today, where Jason is so not only direct, but reiterates and is specific about. And part of it is, I guess, for the first time on this podcast, I'll play a clip of something. And Riley, right here, please don't miss this because it'll be very embarrassing. But at 53:58 in the interview, there is when they talk about Glitchtrap being dead.
For, when we were talking about endings and resolutions for, instead of having a giant Vanny.
Yeah.
Turning around and being, this is, the end of Glitchtrap.
Yeah. So it is the end of Glitchtrap. Squished. Gone.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
So is Glitchtrap dead? Because it seems like he's saying Glitchtrap is dead. The era of Glitchtrap is over. Which, to be fair, Glitchtrap has been a major villain in the franchise as for half of the franchise. A lot of people are like, oh, I like William. I don't like these new villains. Bro, Help Wanted is 5 years old and the franchise is 10 years old. At this point in the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise, Help Wanted came out halfway through the franchise's history. So Glitchtrap is an old villain. Get the idea that Glitchtrap is new out of your head. So the era of Glitchtrap might be over, especially if we consider the era of William Afton being over at Ultimate Custom Night. Granted, William Afton's effects throughout this franchise still permeate. The miasma or miasma. Miasma was actually treated years ago, so I don't have to carry an inhaler. But the like icky feeling of William Afton will permeate throughout this series pretty much in perpetuity, whether or not William is still around. But William Afton, as an active participant in the story, was over at Ultimate Custom Night, which was about 5 years. And then Help Wanted comes out. And now if Glitchtrap died at Help Wanted 2, that's about 5 years again. So like that kind of lines up. But there's a few implications for Glitchtrap being dead in the Princess Quest 4 ending. So to be very specific, what they were talking about is that scene where Vanny crushes Glitchtrap. She's killing him. He's no more. So there's a few implications. One, it doesn't necessarily mean Glitchtrap is dead. After all, this is one of 2 endings. And we're essentially seeing, and in the other ending, like there's 2 endings to Help Wanted 2. In one of them, it seems like Glitchtrap gets destroyed. And in the other one, it seems like Glitchtrap is being brought into the real world because he exits a charging pod. So like, in one of the endings, Glitchtrap definitely doesn't seem destroyed. But the way that Jason talked about Glitchtrap in this era, in this like area of the interview, it does seem pretty direct that the era of Glitchtrap is over, which is strange because like, is this an ending confirmation? Are we confirming that the Princess Quest 4 ending is the true ending to Help Wanted or Help Wanted 2? But that doesn't make sense either, because in the other ending, we see the mask being handed to Cassie and we know ruin happens. So we know that ending is the one that happened, right? It's all very strange because like, is this saying that both endings happened? Like after that first ending, then Jeremy, who I believe is the Help Wanted 2 protagonist, Cassie's father, Jeremy Fitzgerald from FNAF 2, and also the Bonnie Bully, I think is a lot of people. Are we saying that after he's attacked and Glitchtrap is revived, while he's in that space, he does Princess Quest 4? I don't know. I really don't. But if we assume the Princess Quest 4 ending is the canon ending to Help Wanted 2, and Glitchtrap dies in that ending, like, what the fuck? Like, what happens there? Now, again, when I talk about this, these clips make it seem like I'm upset or angry that Glitchtrap is dead. Not true at all. I'm fine with Glitchtrap being dead. You know, like, it's just the way the story is going. Cool, we have to work with that. But my what the fuck is more on, like, the circumstances of it. Because Vanny is the one that kills Glitchtrap. So we have a few questions, right? Is this Vanessa pretending to be Vanny while she's in this digital space to get close enough to kill Glitchtrap? Potentially. But if it is Vanessa, why does she abandon Jeremy in that digital space? Right? Because the ending of Princess Quest 4, we get as deep as we possibly can. We trade the Vanny mask for the Glitchtrap plushie, and then we present it to Vanny. Vanny destroys Glitchtrap, waves all creepily, and leaves us in that like digital claw machine space. So if it is Vanessa, why would she kill an innocent guy like that? Right? Because theoretically, Jeremy Fitzgerald, Help Wanted 2 protagonist, Cassie's dad, theoretically, he's just trying to help. He's just trying to get rid of Glitchtrap and following Vanny's instructions. So if it's Vanessa giving him these instructions that lead to his death, is Vanessa doing this on purpose? Does by the time Vanessa see Jeremy Fitzgerald, he's too far gone and he's basically another Vanny, and that's why she's okay with doing this? Is it the fact that like Vanessa weighs the consequences and sees ridding the world of Glitchtrap by sacrificing one person a more worthwhile thing than letting Glitchtrap live and possibly killing dozens of people? Possibly? I don't know. It seems as little as we know about Vanessa's actual character, from what we do know from like the AR emails and the dialogue and security breach, it seems like Vanessa wouldn't want to just kill a guy. So it feels very out of character to do so. And that seems, again, we don't know what happens to Help Wanted 2's protagonist in the Princess Quest 4 ending, but it really seems like it's just, okay, you're forever trapped in this digital space now. Goodbye. Which seems very strange. So then the question is, if it's not Vanessa, is it Vanny? Is Vanny the one who kills Glitchtrap? Well, that presents its own questions and problems, because like if Vanny's the one that kills Glitchtrap, why did she do that? Vanny as a persona is like the most dedicated and the most dedicated and loyal follower. Vanny as a character is the most dedicated and loyal follower of Glitchtrap. Like, Vanessa as a character is the reluctant follower, but it's not because Vanny is reluctant. Vanessa is reluctant and resistant, but Vanny is the follower, right? So Vanny turning on Glitchtrap doesn't make a lot of sense. I had theorized previously that it was, okay, Help Wanted 2 protagonist is going to become another Vanny, but the Vanny we know is so obsessed and devoted to Glitchtrap that she sees another assistant as a threat. So she destroys the part of Glitchtrap that was forming inside of Jeremy's mind. I like that explanation a lot, but if this is the end of Glitchtrap, it's bigger than that. It's not that Vanny is making sure Glitchtrap has no other assistants. Vanny is killing Glitchtrap. So what is going on here? Especially if Help Wanted 2 takes place after Security Breach. Because if the Freddy from Ruin is the Freddy from Security Breach, then the Princess Quest 4 ending, the Princess Quest 3 ending from Security Breach is almost definitely confirmed to have happened. And Vanessa is free. So how's Vanny still here? Well, this leads into the B72 explanation of formed personalities. So in Tales from the Pizzaplex B72, Billy, who had previously developed the internal personality of B7 in animatronic, all of the prosthetic animatronic parts he added to himself were removed, and they come off in like one big piece. And that piece still has the consciousness and personality of B7. So somehow a personality that was formed in Billy's mind and removed remained after being removed. It just sought out a new host. So if the idea that a personality and consciousness formed within somebody's mind can be removed without being destroyed, the Princess Quest 3 ending might not be destroying Vanny. It might be removing Vanny from Vanessa and leaving it behind, possibly in the Help Wanted 2 mask, in the VANNI mask, the Ruin mask, the Vanny mask, right? So now Vanny is its own creature contained within Vanessa's old mask. And then we get to Help Wanted 2, where the protagonist is trying to fix things and uses the VANNI mask. Is he using the same mask that Vanessa did? Is the reason we were going to, at one point in development, hear Vanny giving us instructions, and the reason we have the mask in the first place is because Jeremy Fitzgerald, Help Wanted 2, Cassie's dad, finds that mask while trying to fix and save the Pizzaplex and begins to use it and begins getting infected by Vanny. So is Help Wanted 2 the purification of the Vanny persona from Glitchtrap? Because if we know in Ruin that the Mimic is trying to access Cassie through the Vanny mask. And it seems like Glitchtrap is still a part of that in some way. Now, we don't see Glitchtrap specifically, but Helpy, right, seems to be either part of the Mimic or part of Glitchtrap or some way, because Helpy will show up in the Vanny mask and he'll like occasionally say something threatening and his eyes switch and he looks all like scary looking. So I thought for a long time it's Glitchtrap and the Mimic, where Glitchtrap is the Mimic 1 program, right? It's a digital manifestation of the Mimic program that went through Help Wanted, and the Mimic kind of butting heads occasionally, because again, there is that argument in the middle of Ruin where Helpy is like, oh, I disabled something for you, and Gregory, who is the Mimic, follows up and goes, well, you only did it because I upgraded you, and they have like a little bit of an argument there, which again, I don't think the Mimic is sophisticated enough to have an argument with itself to try to make Cassie believe it's two separate characters. So it does make it seem like Gregory the Mimic isn't Helpy. But maybe instead of Helpy being Glitchtrap, Helpy is Vanny. After all, now see that's weird too. Because in Help Wanted 2, the Helpy that we see on the projector screen definitely seems like it's a avatar of Glitchtrap, because it's the one that urges you to open the presents on the stage that leads to the ending that allows you to like seemingly resurrect Glitchtrap, whereas the Mystic Hippo is the one that gives you the hints towards the destruction of Glitchtrap. I don't know, it gave us all a lot to if Glitchtrap dies in Help Wanted 2, it opens up a whole can of worms. We're like, okay, where does Vanny come into this? Is Vanny still around post Glitchtrap? Which I could see happening. And then how does that interact with Help Wanted 2? Where Glitchtrap does seem to still be around, but maybe Vanny is trying to kill Glitchtrap? But then one of the endings, if you listen to Helpy, resurrects Glitchtrap, and then in Ruin, which seemingly takes place, which almost definitely takes place after Help Wanted 2, Helpy is still there and seems like Glitchtrap. So, like, I don't know, man. I can't figure out a version of this timeline where I just took like 5 minutes of silence to just like think this out. I can't in the moment think of a version of this timeline where Glitchtrap dies in Help Wanted 2 and Ruin happens. Because like I thought of every other shit. Because like I thought of every other possibility where like, God, bisexuals just can't sit right. Happy Pride, everybody, by the way. Happy Pride, Pride Month. Woo! I'll probably do like an actual like a better Happy Pride in the main channel video. This is podcast. You get you get Messy Riley in these podcasts. You get fuck. Oh, that might be the intro. I don't know. I can't get comfortable, man. I'm not even bi, I'm pan. What the fuck? I'm supposed to be able to sit right. So, right, because it's hard to think of a version of this timeline where Glitchtrap dies in Help Wanted 2, but Ruin still happens. Because I see the other pipeline so clearly, where Help Wanted 2 happens, and the ending where Glitchtrap is resurrected, and then we see the mask bot leads right into Ruin. But then there's the other ending where if Glitchtrap dies, now Vanny is freed from Glitchtrap's control and is now a separate entity living possibly within the Vanny mask. Unless Helpy is Vanny, like digitally. But like it feels weird for Helpy to be Vanny, because why would Vanny want to free the Mimic? And not only that, Vanny's goals, Vanny's instructions, the ending where Vanny shows up are different than what Helpy tells us in Help Wanted 2. Unless the Helpy from Help Wanted 2 and the Helpy from Ruin are two separate entities. But that would suck, kind of, right? Unless in Help Wanted 2, Helpy is used by Glitchtrap to try to manipulate Jeremy, and in the ending where where Vanny is able to destroy Glitchtrap, Vanny learned that Helpy was a really good way to manipulate someone. So when Cassie puts on the mask, she adopts that persona of Helpy because it worked with Jeremy, probably worked with Cassie. Maybe? I don't know. It's so strange. And then again, why would Vanny want to free the Mimic? Now, okay. Is it so that Vanny can have the Mimic as a host? Right? The idea of if you put this mask on the Mimic, now Vanny, this persona that was created, has a body, the Mimic. Kind of the idea of what Security Breach was trying to do, where Vanny, the person, was trying to make a body to put Glitchtrap into. But now that Vanny is freed of Glitchtrap's controls, Vanny wants a body and knows that the Mimic is down there, so she needs somebody to go free the Mimic and then put the mask on the Mimic, essentially, or have the Mimic put the mask on itself. The Mimic loves to put on costumes. So, like, if it sees, like, Cassie show up, kills Cassie, and then sees this mask and puts it on, maybe? Or are we going to get the really sick parallel where Security Breach, we had Gregory and Glamrock Freddy, which were like this duo of like good people trying their best. And now the next villain is going to be Cassie under the influence of Vanny with the Mimic, and they're the new duo, and they're a villainous duo. I could see that too. There's so many ways this could go if Glitchtrap dies in Help Wanted 2, which Jason Topolski really made it seem like he does. So I don't know, you know? And there's some other lore drops too, but I'll save that for Friday's video. Teaser, this Friday's video is going to be all about the shit we learned from the interview. But again, go watch that interview. It's on FNAF's channels. If you just search FNAF, it's the first video that comes up. It's a great interview. Highly recommend it. Especially if you're into like game development and stuff like that. There's a lot of really good insight onto the back end of that in that interview that I think was super helpful and interesting. But I guess we'll move on to questions. I'm so tired. If you want questions answered on the podcast, make sure to send them into Freddy Fazbear Pizza Podcast at gmail.com. You can, that's in the description, so you can copy and paste it because it's a pain to type. You can also send in questions through the Spotify question thingy. But our first question comes from Zin, he, they, she. Thank you for your question. How old do you think the daycare attendant is, and who do you think created it? Great question, Zin. So, as far as how old the daycare attendant is, we can make some pretty good shots in the dark. So the Mimic, we know, like, if Tales from the Pizzaplex is true, or if what Gregory said in Ruin is true, whatever continuity we're talking about here, the Mimic is old, right? Because in the books, the Mimic is created by Edwin Murray earlier in the franchise. And at some point, Fazbear made a whole line of Mimic endoskeletons, but took them down when they were copying people in unintended ways. And then in Ruin, we get the double down of that idea where the Gregory's like, we don't really know what that is, but it's really old, you know? So the Mimic is old, and its teeth match the daycare attendant, which immediately, like, they have the same, like, weird, individually working teeth. And I think, like, Game Theory pointed this out, and a couple other people pointed this out, that, like, that teeth is a really good link. So that does kind of make it seem like, okay, maybe they came out around the same time. And then you look at the design of the daycare attendant, a jester, right? Like literally like a court jester. It comes out of a castle in Security Breach, which would fit really well with Circus Baby's Pizza World theming. Now, again, jesters aren't really clown. They're more like medieval, but, you know, jester, jokers, clowns, they're all in the same similar aesthetic field that they would all fit in as characters at, say, a Fall Fest. So I still really am of the opinion that a lot of animatronics that we know in this franchise started as felt costumes and characters at Fall Fest, and the fan favorite ones were converted to animatronics. I think that makes a lot of sense. So the daycare attendant could have been one of those characters, especially since we see the daycare attendant associated with the carousel, which seems like it's a Fall Fest thing because it's older. It gets lit on fire at some point. It seems like a Fall Fest thing. So that, again, doubles down the idea of like maybe the daycare attendant was all the way back in Fall Fest. So if that's true, who do we think created it? Well, if you believe the books, then most likely Edwin, right? Because it looks a lot like the Mimic. But I personally think that if the daycare attendant was created way back in Fall Fest, then it's probably a Henry creation. Because I think Henry's role in the early parts of this FNAF timeline was he was hired on to take the Fall Fest characters and make them animatronics. So I think that would have been one of Henry's doings. So that's my best guess. Now here's the thing. What's the evidence for this? Realistically, vibes and implications. There's not a lot of direct evidence because we don't have a lot of direct evidence about Fall Fest to begin with. We have 2 dates and we know that it keeps getting associated with fire. That's it. You know, like, so I think we need a Fall Fest game to really nail down any specifics, but that's my theory on it with very little admitted evidence. But thank you for your questions, Zin. Our next question comes from Lucky the Boo, they, them. Was it ever confirmed that Ultimate Custom Night takes place after FNAF 6? Thank you for your question. So confirmation is a rough word, And that's another thing in the interview that I'm going to bring up on Friday. Jason himself says, like, anytime anyone he sees says, we know this for a fact, his first reaction is, do you? Because there is admittedly very little confirmed, factual, undeniable information about this series. Almost all of it is theory, implication, assumption. So when we talk about, is it confirmed that Ultimate Custom Night takes place after FNAF 6? Technically, no. I don't think there's any confirmed placements for any of the games outside of FNAF 6 definitely takes place after Sister Location. And the only reason we can say that is because we have the conversation between Scott Games and FNAFworld.com of what seems like Circus Baby and Molten Freddy talking about splitting. And we know that at the end of Sister Location, they all form into Ennard, and we know that FNAF 6 has Molten Freddy and Scrap Baby. And that's kind of the only... And even then, you know, the names aren't used, so we're just guessing. We're like... So it's a matter of, like, it is a very, 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 very strong and pretty much confirmed theory that FNAF 6 takes place after Sister Location. But technically, it's not confirmed. Now, it's less strong, but the same can be said about Ultimate Custom Night, where Ultimate Custom Night, as far as I'm aware, there is no direct confirmation in either game being like, Ultimate Custom Night takes place after FNAF 6, period. But it can be very, very, very strongly argued for. For one, we have the idea that in the Old Man Consequences cutscene of Ultimate Custom Night, we hear screaming in the background, and if you slow it down, sounds like he's screaming Henry and Michael. So it's like, okay, are we playing as William? And then a lot of the other animatronics we encounter have death quotes that further imply us to be playing as William in an eternal torment. Where it's like, you're trapped here. I think it's Orville's has a line where it's like, I will keep you here no matter how many times they burn us. It's like very, very clear that it seems as though we're playing as William Afton, and all of this is being done by someone who really fucking hates William Afton. So that alone is like, okay, it's probably after Ultimate Custom Night, because when else could this happen? And then we have Fazbear Frights giving further backing evidence. Where in Fazbear Frights, in the Man in Room 1280, William Afton is a barely, somehow unnaturally alive, burnt to shit body with two consciousnesses in its brain. And then later on, we get that one of those consciousnesses was talking about, yeah, I don't remember exactly why, but I really hated that guy. So I kept him alive specifically to torture him forever. So, like, everything lines up for Ultimate Custom Night to take place after FNAF 6. So, to answer your question, is it confirmed that Ultimate Custom Night takes place after FNAF 6? No. But is it, like, as close to confirmed as most things in this series come? Yes. Because if it doesn't take place after FNAF 6, then I guess it's just a nightmare that always happens when William goes to sleep? I don't know. But regardless, thank you for your question. Our next question comes from Rid, they. What do you think about the souls possessing the wet floorbots and the sounds of screaming children in Ruin? And the fact that we can only notice this with the Vanny mask. We know people went missing, possibly including employees. So does this add further fuel to the idea that the digital world itself is haunted like the minigames? So here's the thing. Here's the real fucking kicker. One, the souls of the wet floorbots. We have to be careful. Again, assuming that it's confirmed there are souls in there. I know that in the game's code, this wet floorbots are tracked by a counter that says souls. That's worthwhile. But we also know that it's like coding, it's programming, and Steel Wool has a sense of humor and they like to count things. Like literally in that interview, we heard that they were measuring minigames on how scary they are by how many crying childs they are. So if we looked through the code of like Help Wanted or Help Wanted 2 and we saw that one of the mini games said 2 crying childs, out of context, reading that, it would go, oh my God, there's 2 crying childs in this mini game. So we have to consider that the souls counter doesn't literally mean there are souls in these wet floor bots. That being said, something's definitely up with them. Like you said, when you're wearing the Vanny mask, you hear crying children, they always stare at you, and when you deactivate enough of them, you can get access to Glamrock Bonnie. Huh? So there's a couple explanations for it. I've heard some people say that it's Glamrock Bonnie trying to electronically reach out for help. I could see that, because when you disable all of them, Glamrock Bonnie's eyes turn off, which is crazy. There's the other possibility that I said a while ago, where and now I don't know if this is true or not, because I just genuinely don't remember, but I think I made a video or was going to that went into the room that the all-staff meeting most likely took place in, counted the number of topped-over chairs that were all sectioned off in one area, and it lined up with the number of wet floor bots. I could be wrong. There's a possibility that the wet floor bots are the souls or consciousnesses of killed employees. And that's possible. Here's a terrible, terrible, very bad, no good theory that could be true. I've said this before. There's a Fazbear Fright story called Kids at Play, where a dude hits a kid square off the road. And either from the paranoia of him doing so, or the fact that he also hit a Fazbear created Kids at Play sign, he starts seeing Kids at Play signs all over the place. And eventually one night, after being consumed by paranoia and guilt, his body wills itself, as much as he fights against it, to the spot where he hit the kid, and his body morphs disgustingly and gorily into a Kids at Play sign, and the rest of his body sheds off of him. And then the next day, a police officer sees a random Kids at Play sign and hears the kid that the guy hit, and the kid is actually alive, and they rescue him. But there is precedent in this franchise of a human being being forced to turn into a yellow warning sign. The wet floor bots could be that. I don't think they are, but it's unfortunately possible. Someone else on Twitter recently brought up that they could be Rasks. So essentially in FNAF 6, there's these little, I forget what it stands for, but it's RASC, and it's essentially how you do the audio lures in FNAF 6. They're these little diamond guys with little speakers on top and wheels, and they run around, they play sound, and it lures the things. So someone was like, well, the wet floor bots have that sound, and they have a like somewhat similar shape. But that's kind of it. It's kind of a loose connection because the shape is not really close. The wet floor bots don't have wheels. So it's like, it's not super close, but it's worth bringing up. But Rid, genuinely, I really don't know about the wet floor bots. It's a big question mark that I'm trying to figure out before I put out that timeline, or else I'm just not going to bring them up. But thank you for your question. Pearl, and our next question comes from Pearl, she, her, and this is our last question for today, I'm pretty sure. Do you think William actually cared about any of his family members? He warns Elizabeth to stay away from Circus Baby, and is likely the one to tell the bite victim, I will put you back together. But the possibilities of fear experiments, and manipulation definitely give you pause. Thank you for your question. So, yeah, I don't think William was a good father or gave a shit about his kids. I think every time William Afton ever did anything good for his children, it can be explained as something that directly benefits William. So I think William Afton in the games is very similar to what we see in the flashbacks of the Silver Eyes. We're like, sure, we heard from Elizabeth. Why won't you let me play with her? And we can interpret, oh, honey, she's a little dangerous. I don't want you to get close to her. But what most likely happened was, get away from her. You'll ruin it. Don't go near her. You'll break it, you know? And then as far as like the bite victim goes, I will put you back together. Sure. It could be, I want to fix my child. Something horrible has happened. Especially if the crying child died first. It's like, okay, maybe this is a good father. No, it isn't. I will put you back together. This is the line of a man whose ambition has overtaken his compassion. He looks at the crying child, a child that he is responsible for, that he knows the death of, and that he has the ultimate say on what happens to him. And he doesn't think, I must do everything I can to save him. He sees an opportunity to study a recently deceased person to figure out if he can find out how to bring him back. It's not, I will save you. It's not, I will bring you back to us. I will put you back together. I will learn how to. It's not compassion, it's ambition. Now again, you said this twice in a row. Is that confirmed? No. None of this is confirmed. We have so little characterization of William Afton. But the only characterization we get of William Afton of being a parent is from the Silver Eyes when he's a piece of shit parent. So I just assume he's a piece of shit. But regardless, thank you for your question. Once again, if you want questions answered on the podcast, you can send them to Freddy Fazbear Pizza Podcast at gmail.com. It's in the description. Copy and paste it because it's a pain to type. Or you can send it on the Spotify Q&A feature somewhere. I don't know where it is. But until next time, thank you for watching the Freddy Fazbear Pizza Podcast, where the pizza abilities are endless. We hope to enjoy your future patronage. Bye-bye for now.